Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
But no, yeah, TikTok has been an interesting endeavor. I think just in the dynamic of just like what we do and being able to be a part of that and see that, it's been really cool.
It has, but again, people get to see that different side of not sitting in the studio and, maybe not wearing a hat and again, drinking out of normal sized cups where it's like, guys, that's just like a weird little persona, I guess, that's on there. It just kind of inadvertently happened, or like my funny shirts or something like that. So I almost feel weird when like I'm doing any of that, or even like on the podcast where like, I actually just have my can of apple juice right here. Like
same.
It's not, I don't have it in a cup and I'm not wearing like a funny shirt or anything like that. Like I almost kind of feel naked.
Right.
It is weird because I know I'm on camera in a sense. So it's like, I'm not prepared. Right. So it's weird.
Well, because I think that it's I say that wearing a Buried Alive shirt that looks ridiculous.
Dude, it's awesome.
So honestly, this is something that I'm not trying to like take a moment to plug. They're not sponsoring us by any means, but this is just an awesome duo that does great music and they make their own merch. So just like the fact that, or more so like the fact that they have designed it, they know what they're doing, they've chosen good quality product, all that stuff. So I'm even wearing a couple of their wristbands, like is
that from them too?
Yeah, it came in the, if I could talk, it came in the package, and I ended up getting a second one because this shirt shipped separately. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I kind of wear bracelets every now and then.
Sure.
But nevertheless, though, like I get it, like feeling naked and everything, because it's like this is the part that it's like you saw it right there. I messed up my words. There's no editing here.
We don't go back. Well, yeah.
It's that whole idea where, like, because I think that we were kind of like refined by fire in a way when we first started, because that was the hard thing of like, you had never been on camera before, as far as like doing something.
Yeah,
to that
not
extent,
really.
Like for an hour or 2 hours or whatever we were doing. So I think that we kind of like found our way, and especially now, like, especially on your end of things, this is kind of like your downtime. Like, this is not really like when you're on.
Right.
This is just like, no, like we are literally just sitting down and having a conversation. So it's like, no, like you're, you don't have to, worry about having all your different, plates that you spin or whatever when you're doing Riker Road. It's kind of like, being funny, but like you get to put your hair down and just, not worry about things, so
exactly.
Yeah, it's a whole different dynamic. So
it's
really cool.
It's fun though. Like it's fun having that, like, oh, I better make sure my studio shirts are clean, or, which cups did I use on, Ren's last video or whatever. Like I look because I want to make sure that I'm not repeating things all the time, like back to back. So it's kind of like its own little job where you're like, okay, well, they know it. They know this person over here like this. So let's keep it going. So
yeah.
Like, it is fun.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, I think that just the experience that we've had that we've had recently, and that we've just taken in, because we talked a little bit before we got on here, but YouTube is kind of doing okay now.
It is, and
it's one of those that, again, knock on wood, you never know what could happen, but in the same hand, seeing that and branching out and doing different stuff, like it's wild. Like I don't know, like to me, like when you first talked about going live on TikTok, my worry was that it was going to consume your life like it consumed mine when I had Bob the Demon.
Oh,
just because granted, I was doing that by myself. Like every incarnation of that was done just by me.
Right,
so,
right.
It was like, all right, well, what can I scrounge together to make this happen or whatever? Whereas your role on TikTok is like, yeah, there is the idea that you do plug things, but for like, you've been experimenting, you've been trying out funny stuff, you've been, throwing stuff at it. And even when you don't post anything, you're still going live.
Yes.
And you have it controlled. You have it to the idea of like, no, I drink my coffee, or I do this, or I do both, or whatever. Like, I really dig what you're doing, dude. Like it's a lot of fun, and I'm not an audience member, so I can't view it from that perspective. But because like the only thing I know is that I'm playing Doom and screaming, so like, So which if anybody does not know this or was not on the live, there was actually something that we need to talk about that happened.
Bro,
I felt so bad.
It was so funny though.
So I think the best way for this to happen is, you need to tell them from your perspective what happened that night, because it's like, I think it takes away the craziness if I reveal it too soon. So, yeah.
So I'm sitting in the Riker Road studio and I'm doing a TikTok, and you were out in the living room, and I remember I was sitting there kind of like this, but the camera was a little more like, like this. But anyways, so I'm talking, I've got like the music going. I've got, my table set up. So like I've got like an obstacle course a little bit. Like
oh God, I didn't even think about that.
The dogs to the left of me. I've got thousands of dollars worth of equipment to my right. Probably about $600 worth of lights and $2,000 between a phone and then lights. Like,
oh shit!
All in front of me, guys, until like directly to my left, and then my dog. Like a life, like a human, like a human life, a furry life. So okay. Anyways, I've painted the scene.
Yeah, you're stuck.
Yeah. And I'm having a good time. Like I left him in the kitchen 10-15 minutes prior.
Because wasn't I like air frying fries or something?
No, you were using the oven.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You were using the oven, and so that was the last place I left him. So I'm in the studio, and then all of the sudden I just hear, oh, hold on. Oh, and I'm like, what the oh my God. And like, it was like getting worse. Like it sounded like he was hurt.
Because I don't make those noises.
No.
That doesn't, neither of us do that. Like,
and for a brief moment, I'm like, oh my God, he's on fire. He's not stopped dropping and rolling. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He was taking a drink. Oh God. I'm killed Kyle. So I really thought like, I'm like, oh my God, all I can think of, it's like going up his arm and he can't stop it. So I finally I know that panic set in my face. I got up, and with the most nimblest of moves, I was over everything, out the door, and this motherfucker was playing VR on he was playing his Oculus 2. He was playing, I forget the actual name, but
it's
it was
called No Clip VR.
Yeah, No Clip VR. It's basically, it's the back rooms.
Yeah.
So horror based, and he was in his own world, literally. He doesn't have to tell me, but like didn't say like, hey, I'm gonna be playing this.
Just a heads up, because I didn't think I was gonna freak out.
Bro,
yeah, dude. Oh man,
I thought you were hurt. So did everybody else on the live.
God.
They were like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. So I go out there and he's in there just
what was funny was that because I mean, like, depending on the night, you'll either be in the living room hanging out like with you and I or whatever, or you'll be like, no, I'll be in the studio this night, or like if it's night I need a break, or just like, so like, it's you never know what's gonna happen. And that night I was just like, I've been on a backrooms kick since we did the podcast, and like since I was watching the short film like the week prior or whatever it was. Like I'm fascinated with this world, and I had this moment where I was like, you know what? I'm like, I kind of want to have a John Carmack moment where, when he was talking about like when he was playing Minecraft in VR, because that's actually, ironically enough, the only reason why I'd want to get a PlayStation VR, but I'm not spending $600 just to get for Minecraft. I'm not going to do that. But he talked about it where he was like, it was the most interesting experience where he's like, I was there. I built my home. I dug. He's like, it was the strangest experience where he's like, it wasn't I was in a game. It was I was on this mountain building this thing. And I had this moment of like, you know what? I wonder if there is anything good on the Oculus that has backrooms. And it's essentially just like you can play tag with your friends, so it's like people you don't know are in a server or whatever that you play with. And I had kind of messed with it and got too freaked out because I was home alone.
Oh, and I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, oh, well, Eric's here. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, So I'll jump on, and what I thought I was doing, and it's why it terrified me that all of a sudden I was just being chased, was that I thought that I was in like free mode, like I could just travel all the back rooms and shit. Oh no, it was like, it's game time and you're by yourself. And I just, because it was the perspective you have to understand is I'm like, I get there and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm mesmerized. I'm looking at everything. I'm like, oh my God, here's this room, here's that. And out of nowhere, I hear, yeah. And just like, oh my God, it scared the shit out of me. And once I finally, like when you ran out, I felt terrible because it wasn't just the fact that you were editing and you didn't know, like you had an audience of people.
Yeah.
It's like, it just made me think of like Titus, like, Chris, oh my God, Chris. just oh fuck. It was, dude, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, like I was such an ass, you know? So like,
no,
oh fuck.
It was great. I thought it was hysterical. And so did the audience. Once we realized you were okay.
Yeah.
I actually ended up taking the phone out there and flipping it to where people could like see you and hear you. And they were like, oh, they were having a great time. But it was just the fact of.
So you didn't take the phone out the first time?
Not the first.
Okay.
No, I wasn't waiting to. I thought there was something wrong with you. Like I was out the door.
I didn't know if you got into the toxic way of a content creator of like, I must take you with me.
No, dude, fuck my phone.
No, I couldn't see shit. You know, so,
right? Man, I didn't fucking grab shit. That's why I said I was over everything and out the door. And that's when I was like, oh, this motherfucker's on the Oculus. And that's when I come like walking back. I'm like, oh my God, cracking up. Cause I'm like, you guys won't believe. Cause people are like, what's going on? Like,
it's a demon. Yeah, right. Yeah. Something bad's happening.
No, hell no, I didn't take my phone. I would have to like unclip it, like do all this shit. Fuck that. Like I legit thought you were like on fire or something. Or like you cut yourself and like it was really bad and it was just like all setting in. You're just like, oh God. So yeah, dude. It was, bro. So this kind of then goes into one of the things I was going to talk about.
Oh,
then.
Really? Okay.
I guess so.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, man.
So, you know, we were talking, you know, going to talk about things like, you know, we're proud of the other person, you know, a couple things. And so with you talking about, you know, being on playing your Oculus and being on the back rooms and stuff like that, it's that you are focusing on your hobbies instead of now, not that people still don't do this, but like instead of how did I write it? It was.
Yeah, we take notes and stuff, guys, when we come in and get prepared and stuff,
instead of using it for an escape.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, you were still doing your things, right? You know, maybe playing your guitar or playing video games, you know, recording or even starting your podcast, you know, depending on, you know, the time frame. But like, it wasn't for like the right reasons most of the time. Not that you didn't have, you know, a lot of times like that, but I feel like it was just, well, I'm just going to do this. You know, it was, you know, I might as well, or you know what, fuck it, you know, or whatever it was. So whether it be video games or, you know, the channels or things like that, like, and it doesn't matter. Any of your hobbies that you were doing or do or found new or something like that, like, that's why I was like, all right, man, hell yeah. Like, this is finally like for luxury in a sense again.
Right.
So yeah,
dude. Well, as we kind of talked a little bit before we got started, is that, you know, like, you know, there's that whole Misha Mansour thing where he's just like, you know, oh, okay, sorry, I'm not good with compliments.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, it's one of those that like we get, you know, showered with, you know, relative, like I would say like for the most part, very good things like when we are live and when we do get comments or like, yeah, and it's like I know we don't know how to take it. And it's one of those that like I was kind of thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I don't know if it's like therapy or whatever, but because even like Henry Cho did that at the beginning of Joe Rogan's pod, or when he was on Joe Rogan, where he was like, I wanted to say 6 nice things about you.
Oh,
And I highly suggest that you actually just watch that podcast because it's actually very fascinating, just in general. But I was kind of like, well, you know what? I'm like, I think we should take that. And I'm talking about this because I'm avoiding the compliment. So,
Right, yeah.
But no, man, it's weird because I found that like just because with the Oculus, because it's easy, because it's like the most recent thing, is that you know, that mentality that it's like you have to make sure you stumble upon something, that way you do it, you know, like throughout your day, you know, because I know there's like many times I just check out and I'm just, you know, kind of like in my autopilot, like I'm still doing things and stuff, but like it gets into that routine kind of thing where like this is kind of what I'm used to, you know. And I was messing with the Oculus deck. I can't remember when, but I was trying to like fix it because it kept like waking up and like it was just like, you know,
yeah.
So like it was kind of like a practical thing of like, well, I want to keep an eye on it, but in the same hand, if it's up top
You'll
instead
see
of
it.
under, then it's easier for
Yeah.
me to grab or whatever. And I will say that since I have done that, I have touched it more.
Okay.
And I've like, cause like in the time I've like, you know, had the house to myself or like, you know, if it's, you know, just like whenever it is, like there's been times where I'm like, you know what, screw it. Like, I mean, it's no effort to turn it on. I'll play Beat Saber for a little bit. I'll play the climbing game I have, you know, like the one that I'm still interested in that I haven't messed with much is the app that teaches you how to do public speaking, where like it actually puts you into a room.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I heard that there are ways that you can actually upload your own slideshow. So say that if you're doing something for like what we do, like, you know, at my work or whatever, like when Don does his stuff, like if he was not comfortable in front of people, which he 110% is, but
well, right.
but it was the fact that it's like you can actually like take your presentation into it and speak. And it actually grades you. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, your diction was off here. Like I've never finished one, so I don't know exactly what the grading looks like, but looking at some of the reviews, somebody actually left a very good review and they said, just so you're aware, English is my second language. And this helped me with my way of talking and with understanding how the English language works. Like it made me speak English better. So,
No shit.
So just like, you know, I'm that's just the nerd side out of me where it's like, I want that kind of stuff.
Sure.
You know? So like, cause I mean, it's that whole idea of like, how do people learn how to put rockets together or well, no, they have, you know, virtual reality that they work in, or like they do this or like, so I don't know. To me, it's like, that's been kind of the cool thing, but, I think it also helped that the back rooms was something that I was just cooking on.
Well,
you know?
sure. Yeah.
But no, dude, like I've been playing through Metal Gear Solid. I've been,
Right.
Getting back into Doom. I still, no matter, even whether or not it's an escape or a hobby, fuck Returnal. Like, dude, I'm so mad at that game right now. Like, I had to uninstall it. Like, it's like to the point where like I don't even want the music to pop up. What if I like scan over? I don't want to see Selena's face. I don't want to see anything. Like, I'm so
it got to
tired
that
of
point,
it.
huh?
So yeah,
Because you've
and-
done that before.
yeah, because I mean, because Eric knows that when I play Returnal, that Kyle is not gaming; he is working right now. Like it's like I can't shut the fuck off when I play it because it's so intense.
You've had that like over 2 years.
Since the PS5 came out.
Well,
Yeah, like it's
So
when you got a hold of it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I was saying when you got the PS5, then yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
It was like probably maybe a month after that. So yeah. Oh well, three Christmases ago.
Has it really been that long?
Has it been? It's something like that.
Holy shit!
It was basically
Because Returnal was definitely pre-YouTube, like what we know now.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was 3 years.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
I just.
But yeah, no, that's definitely when you've been playing that. I was like, "Yep, this is the longest I've ever seen him take on a game."
I've logged in like 170 hours. Like, dude, like, cause I think it's also, to be fair, there's also the tower. So it's like whenever I'm tired of playing the main game, you can.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, so that kind of like, I think that they did that on purpose because they were like, look, we know the game's kind of bullshit, you know, with like how unfair the checkpoint system is or like how we made this game. Here's something that you can just enjoy the combat of this because it is, in my opinion, I think it's one of the best next gen combat games that's been made. Like as far as like mechanics and things and stuff you can do, it's really awesome. But no, I'm just I didn't expect that, you know, like that's really crazy, man. That's awesome. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
man.
no, because it's the fact of, you know, when you do, like, we always work, even when it's, you know, for the channels and stuff, but that's the things that, you know, you do like to do. Yes, you do get to do at your real job what you like to do, but it's a different thing.
Yeah.
So you coming home and unplugging or doing those things is a necessity, whether you are doing it like this right now, like it's not work.
No.
So it's just nice to see that time where it's like I said, you know, there was a lot of other times in your life where the, I guess, vibe that you were in or in your, you know, funk or whatever it was, is that's just, you just buried yourself in these things. That's a completely different thing than indulging and enjoying and maybe going a little overboard because you're having so much fun or whatever it is, or you're like, shit, I've been playing this for how long? Like,
Yeah, right.
Whatever it might be.
It was one more game 6 hours ago.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
Yeah, or learning this part in the guitar 3 hours ago. What was my cutoff? But now my food's cold again, and that, you know. But like, that's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
So like, no, it's really cool, and I think that's the like, I don't want to say the healing part, but like, I guess maybe on a lot of things that has happened over the years that, you know, you're doing now, but it's also just the fact of, you know, I think that having that kind of downtime opens you up to being able to do more things for your other channels. I mean, like thinking and just like coming across things or whatever it is, like it frees you up for that, I think. So
No, it really does, man. Because I mean, I've had to make my conscious effort, you know, for however long recently of just being like, okay, like knowing my limits and knowing just like the idea of like, okay, like, you know, this is what I am able to do. This is what I'm not able to do. And this actually kind of goes into the first one I was going to talk about with you. It's something that really only you and I have experienced, because like when people watch us on YouTube, they see the finished product. They don't see, you know,
Correct.
what happened, that whether it was good or bad. They do not know what happened to it. Like, it's that, because like we've had those moments when, you know, a reaction either doesn't do well, or when people are mad that it took so long. It's like, I'm going to bite my tongue, because if I told you what happened this past week of why we didn't have a reaction, you would probably feel this big.
yeah,
You know, and
knowing that you
it's-
still
yeah.
get 7.
yeah, right. So and
You
it's,
know,
it's just like that has been something that, you know, I've had to remind myself. But the one thing that the audience does not have is the late night conversations, the drastic life changes, the process in your normal when you get there. And dude, your patience with me is something that I do not deserve. Like in the best way. Like in what I mean is that like when I'm deep in my shit,
Okay.
you know, and it's like that idea of that, because you and I had a moment of, it was during when we were shooting one of the Shut Up and Eat It's that we did. It was when we were traveling. We were going, I think we were doing Bee Gees that day. And there was some stuff that happened in my life. And I was not in a good headspace. Like when I came upstairs and you were just kind of like, are you okay? Like what's going on? And we talked, and I can't remember when I got the text message, but this has been something that has not left me since it happened. You texted me and you basically just said, look, dude, I'm sorry that these things are happening right now. I want you to know I appreciate that you are still stepping up and that you're still getting these things done. It was that whole moment of like, dude, I know this is hard.
I remember sending you that.
And it's not even just with that, man. Like it's the experience that, you know, because I mean, to go further back, I mean, it's the fact that, you know, it's like when the house changed and it was just you and I, and you set the ground for patience at that moment when that happened. And you've stuck true to it. And it's something that I very much, I respect you a lot about, man, because I won't go into what happened with me, but it wasn't good. And I remember, I think it was like right after like the LEDs got put up in the house.
Okay.
And you and I were kind of like, I think just kind of sitting around. Mind you guys, there was no YouTube at this point. It was, we were just two dudes just living and just trying to figure, like we had done some stuff, but like it was not nowhere near what it is now.
No, yeah.
And I can't remember like whether or not we were having an emotional conversation or if it was just like in general. But you just said, look, man, what you went through was rough. And if you want to come home and do nothing and you don't even want to talk to me, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you want to come home and all you want to do is play Doom till you can't fucking use your fingers anymore, you do it. If you just want to come home and cry, I'll listen. I'm here. You know, and it's like that was a major just change for me, where it was kind of like things are better, but I didn't deal with everything at that time. And it wasn't until a shout out to even Mike, just because there were some very laser specific things that I kind of just glossed over, where I was like, no, it's done. I'm moving on. Like, I don't need to talk about it. Like, you know, like whatever. And he was one of the people at that point that was just like, I was on a video call with him. I kind of started and I was like, I don't need to go down that road. And he looked at me. He was like, keep talking. You need to.
Right.
Like, Mike is a ride or die friend, dude. Like, he was just like, I adore him so much. But you do, like, you had like this mentality, because like you're no stranger to going through what I went through. And like, you know, not even just the fact that it was like, oh, mine was, you know, this severity of this particular legal thing, or like it was this or that. Like, it was just kind of like, no, like, you're like, no, I get it. I know what that does to you. I understand it. Like, and it's through everything. It's through whenever the channel's not happening, when it is happening, dude. Like when I lose my temper, when I'm just upset, or when I'm, you know, like when something really gets me, like, you know, it's just like you have this mentality of like, there are times where you're like, dude, fucking suck it up and do what you got to do. And we both have done that to each other.
Sure, yeah.
But no, dude, like your understanding, your patience, your view of the bigger picture, because it's like, if you had just stuck in your mind of like, well, Kyle's just depressed and this is how it's going to be, you wouldn't have said that. Like, you would have been like, it would have been the wrong thing to say to somebody. You were literally saying, I know this is tough. Do what you need to do to get through it. There is another side to this. It's going to be okay. You know, so just, dude, like, that's, I've talked about it a couple of times, but like, really, like, dude, like, that was a big deal for me. And it was really awesome, dude. Like, your patience for me is something that I am
interesting.
I'm very, very grateful for, man. Like, well, it's really cool.
That's quite interesting on several levels. I mean, I never really thought of it that way. It was just the fact of, you know, I mean, okay, so this ties into it. One of my other ones.
Mind you, we have not talked.
No.
You were literally gone for however long. I said, hey, this is what we're doing. Think of three things.
Yeah, I was gone almost 5 days.
We faked it. So yeah, right. Yeah.
But I'm careful how I word this. But it was just getting out of toxic relationships. Now, what I'm saying is it kind of ties together, like what you were saying, like, I guess my patience, but it was the fact of, no, even then I was proud of the situation that was happening. Not that, oh my God, you were getting divorced from this evil person. Like, no, it wasn't like that.
No,
it wasn't like that. Or even other situations that happened later, you know, with other things. But it was just, I was proud of the fact of what was finally happening. You know, you were taking charge of the situation, I guess, and being like, you know, nope, this is it. You know, this is the thing, or this is whatever. And then once it was done, and we basically probably that same day when you were just kind of like, you know, like everything was kind of out of the house. Like, even when you were just like, I fucking hate that table. And I'm like, then get it the fuck out, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. You want me? I'll help you throw it down the steps.
Right.
Like, it was, I knew I was like, I'm like, yes. Like, this is, And it wasn't like, oh, I got my brother back. No, it was just like, dude, yes, man. Like, it's your house. It's your space. It's your, like, you pay the bill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was do what you want, and you were finally doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment where I was like, man, I'm proud that he is taking this giant step forward, not only with the situation that was at hand, but how you were running your life, like how you were actually finally living and having fun.
Yeah.
And that's where like the other one fell into suit with like you indulging on like your, indulging in your hobbies and stuff, not just being buried in them. But those two kind of went together. But it's just, I saw just a very different side. And I didn't think it was anything of me being patient with anything. It was me being, I guess, like, what's the right word? Like I'm right there with you, dude. Like we can just do whatever we want in a sense. Like I can't judge you. First of all, this is your house. And second of all, I'm single and riding with you. Like, let's do this shit together. But it was just like, I don't know. I had this like, this weight lifted off my shoulders for you. And cause there for a little while, I just really thought you were just going to be stuck. And
me too, dude. Yeah.
You were just going to be stuck in this spot. And, like I thought I was going to be as well. And it's just like, one day, but for both of us, it was just over.
Yeah.
And whether or not it sucked or not, it happened. And here we are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I think that it was all for the good. But that's just really weird that our things were like tying together. So
I think that I'm not going to jump into it yet, but I think my next one may be a bit of a departure. It's still going to gloss over everything, which I mean it's very like serious and good. But no, I don't know. Like it's tough, man, because like I there's a lot of that time that I don't remember.
Yeah. Right.
And I've talked about that before, like with like Bob the Demon, like, cause like I just stopped where I was just like, okay, like I don't know how to do this anymore because I was escaping to make him.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Like you were doing these things, but you weren't doing these things. You were doing them because you didn't want to be here or you didn't want to have to deal with things or sorry, I got to go do this instead. Like it was almost like an excuse. It wasn't because not that you didn't love it, but you didn't love it like that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's
good.
what I was meaning. Like where it's like, dude, you just weren't really in it.
No. And I think that like, cause you and I have like, we've talked about this like off camera, but like that was such a weird time to be an adult because it was kind of like, all these freedoms in every single way just happened in my life. And it was kind of like, it was almost like sensory overload where I had so much ability to do what I wanted that I had to simplify it like a motherfucker. Like I think like playing video games and grilling was like maybe the main thing like that was like kind of happening at that point or like we would watch movies or we did watch shows or like things like that. Like, but I don't know, like it was just like there were a couple of times that like when I was in that situation that like there are some nights that I do remember very clearly. And those were the times that like I would kind of like sit back and just smile and have this moment of like, nah, dude, be present right now.
Yeah.
Like, this moment will come and go, just like every other moment that's come and gone before this, you need to be present. And, like even like being on the podcast when we had Brent on, it was like, when the Cavecast was still in the Riker studio, which is weird to think now, which is like, that was going to be the podcast room. No, it was not like we had no idea what was going to happen. And, when he sent us, because I won't spoil it because I don't know if he's done it yet, but he sent us a new character that he was going to do.
Yeah.
And I remember just being jazzed up that whole time. Like that was such a great night. I've rewatched the podcast we did with him. It's good, dude. It's bad quality compared to what we have now, but like it's just good. And I remember just looking at this picture of him and Brent, he has that like that amazing, just big smile. And he was wearing this costume and he was in the theater, in the mirror and just doing his thing. And I remember just cackling. And that was the moment that I remembered. I was just like, this is why I want to do YouTube. This is why I do this. This is why, like, this is a moment that nobody else on the planet, whether or not this episode does well or not, I'm going to remember. And it's still like, I think about it like twice a week. Like, it's like, it's not gone. No, dude, it's never gone for me. Like, whether or not I'm scrolling through TikTok and if I see Brent, or if I'm like, when I look at analytics, I think of him because he was the first person that I ever sat down and had kitchen talk essentially with. He's like, yeah, what are your analytics doing? Mine are saying this. He's like, it's ridiculous. Like back when he had like 10K subs,
sure,
you know, from like just doing sketches in college, essentially, you know,
10K subs.
Right. Yeah, like,
no, for him guys, not for us.
No, because Brent has built an empire.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, just, I'm so fucking proud of that guy. Like,
yeah,
but no, dude, like, it's just, I don't know if I've strayed too far from the point, but in the same hand is that it's like, no, dude, like I do like have recollections and things that come back of those times. And it's like, because like that time not only molded myself, but it molded you and the things that were going on as well too. Cause it's like, you were dealing with your own shit at that point. And like, you know, there's been a journey of that, as you know, which I mean, it's not been plastered online, but like, you know, through everything that we've done with YouTube and everything, like, you know, to have it connect into the next thing is that, you know, I'm under the firm believer that it's like, you know, like God smiled on what you did. And, you know, it was the idea of that, you know, you were faithful in the right things. You cared and gave a shit about the things that mattered. And really, dude, like I very much admire the way that your faith has grown.
Oh,
dude, like, cause to give everybody context, you and I have gone through probably like every dynamic I think brothers can go through of that. It's like, we were young, we grew up, we did our thing. You became an adult. I was a kid that watched you as an adult. Now I'm coming to being an adult. Yeah. Now I get it. Now we're at odds over something. Now there's this, now this thing changes. You and I are fucking rekindled again. Like, it's so like, it's just like, we like all of that leading to the moment of you being like, nah, dude, you're coming to live with me. You know, and just like, and so it's like, I've had more time with you to see your personal life than a lot of other people. And just,
I would say so.
You for me as well.
So, yeah.
You know, and dude, the way that like, cause like the dynamic of like when we would talk about faith was that, you know, there was a time that I was like active in church and you understood that. So like you and I would talk and you would have questions and like the attitude that you had at that time was very different. Because I don't want to like give it a negative connotation, but it's like, it's where you were at, you know, because now I hear you multiple times a week and you're just like, dude, I'm like, I prayed about it. Like, I'm like, Lord, like, please, like, you know, just like, I'm not asking for this ridiculous thing. I'd like, please, can you just like take care of these things? And, you know, and like, but I want to earn it. Don't give me a free handout. Right. Dude, like you pray with such a biblical heart that it's one of those that I look at it and I'm like, man, I'm kind of a piece of shit. Like, it's, you know, it's like, you know, like,
oh man,
just because like, dude, I mean, if I'm going to be razor straight, like it's one of those, like, I don't pray. Like I don't have that part of my life where like I end my day with that or whatever. Like it's not like I do in moments, like when I know something is happening where it's kind of like, all right, dude, you need to listen to what, you know, is going on inside of you right now. You need to give thanks where it's like, when it happens, like just, you have become just like, I'm not saying like the perfect model of faith. I'm not saying the best Christian in the world. It's just like, it's the fact that it's like, I've seen where you've come from and how it's gone now. Like, cause like, if you like to like just open that, like this small door, like just, and you'll understand is that it's like, when we talk about finances, it's never how much can we line our pockets. It's this is what we have to do. This is how we are responsible with what we are given. And dude, you are the main fire that fuels that. And like, I mean, seriously, like it's like, cause it's like, it's so interesting to me. Like faith has become important in areas that for a long time weren't for you and I. And it's because it's like, nah, dude, we have an audience and we understand that. And it's like, you know, like this, we have been very blessed with the small amount that we've been given. And it's like, nah, dude, I want to be faithful in the small things to be faithful in the big things. And dude, like you really have, man. And it's something that is really mind blowing. And it's just because like I've seen the journey, and it's really wild, man.
Well, I also think that has a lot to do with my outlook on, I guess my outlook on life, where Meg ended up looking it up, and it's because I was like, no, that's not true. But she looked up as that I guess I essentially have a phobia of time. So what I'm getting at is when because I was like, no. And then she started reading some of the other definitions. I was like, fuck. But anyways, what I'm getting at with the whole, like, on my more religious side and praying and things, I think that's where it comes into play, is the fact of, Kyle's over here starting a fire.
Yep.
Is that, I'm very hyper aware that I'm going to die anytime.
Yeah.
Could do it right now on the podcast.
Right.
Like, but what I'm getting at is that, so I'm trying to, I think I've said it before on the show too, where like I'm trying to, one, live my life to to do everything I want to do in a sense, and the most that I can, number one. But number two, do the things correctly. And so that comes into play with, building the channel and how I live my life and the things that I am grateful for. Something gave me all of this, that I asked for, that I prayed for, to be stay-at-home dad, retire, before I was 40, revenue to go up and increase and, be respectable and all of these things, and to guide me. And like, it was just like, I didn't want to be selfish, because if I am going to die and there really is this other thing over there, then I don't want to be the asshole that gets in, but I was the asshole over here. And I was this rude, obnoxious, like, I better be a fucking millionaire. I've got 200,000 subscribers. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, it's at that point, your salvation was nothing but principle, not because, right.
Like, so what I'm getting at is the fact of that it really did put it in perspective, where I know that sounds dumb or silly, but it's like, I knew that my time on this earth is precious, and that is the most like valuable thing on the planet. Like, fuck money. Like, I'll make more money. I can't make more time that I have.
Right.
So it's just the fact of like, that's how I looked at it. So with me praying, it just like, it like weirdly drove me to like pray like this, or have this outlook on life, because I'm scared. I am afraid. 100% terrified. I have never been more terrified of something in my life.
So it just the idea of just death, is it? Or
I guess
is it? Well, let me just ask you this: do you fear more so how you will leave this world, or where you will go when you leave this world? I think
both.
Okay.
It's both. Like,
because there's no wrong answer. So it's
like this whole thing where if it's just lights out, like say no religion is real, or that or like heaven and hell don't like exist like that. There's no reincarnation, all this shit, and it's just lights out. Like, dude, sometimes going to sleep scares me.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Because of that fact, where it's like, because I don't really dream. So it's weird that I'm like just in this like blank state. But, and then the fact of just not, like, I think I've said before too, we're like, well, I'm never going to get to hear the new Eminem album. When he goes back on tour, or the newest remake of this movie, or that, like, it all stops for me. Not everybody else. And then like you drive by cemeteries and stuff, and you like today when I was dropping Chandler off, there's a big one, and I'm pretty sure where Grandma Shirley is at, off that one stretch.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, look at all these people.
Mm-hmm.
How long have they been gone? Look at all these graves that don't have flowers. Do these people just not come see these people anymore? Have people forgotten about them?
Mm-hmm.
So again, like this took a weird turn.
No,
but like,
you're good. You're good, man.
But
Yeah.
it's like that's where like again, it travels back to that whole thing. Like it's crippling for me.
Mm-hmm.
Praying, I'll pray to be like, please just take this away. Like just ease my mind right now. Like, and then it turns into the other things. It's like, what, like, okay, well, like, thank you for this. Like, I'm super grateful for these things or over here or like whatever. But like, it has flipped me into like this major discomfort that I have turned into how to comfort it, turned into doing all of these other things on how I do it.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's what led it to me. Because I think about it all day, every day. I just have bigger moments where I don't think about it.
This is the thing that, I mean, because like, you know, we've said it before, but it's just like, I mean, you and I are emotionally depressed every day.
Well, all the time.
And it's because again, it's that whole mentality that it's like, you know, like we can't erase what's happened to us, you know, so it's like you have that, you know, the trauma aspect of that, but it's, I don't know, man, like, I don't think that there's any magic words that could make that disappear because I mean, even like when you look at Paul, when he talks about the thorn that he had in his flesh, where, you know, he never was specific on what it is. You could probably make some guesses as to what it was, but it was symbolism for this, whether it was sin in his life or if it was a worry or anything else, where like he prayed multiple times for this thorn to be taken from him. And God's response says, he basically would say to him, he's like, my grace is sufficient enough for you. The grace I gave you on the cross is enough. It's going to be okay. And it's because like he has frustrations with it where he was like, I don't want to misquote him, but I think that like he would clearly have this moment of like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why? Can't you just, it's like, no. My grace is sufficient enough for you. That's a statement of like no wiggle room. Now that's frustrating in a lot of ways, but if you think about it, like I in my personal opinion, and again, I'm not saying this is going to make everything go away, but it's in the same hand as that, you know, we follow the Christian faith with what we grew up with, you know, and that's really what we base all like everything that we believe off of and what's happening to us. I would make the argument that there are things in both of our lives that take YouTube out of it that we cannot explain, that we have physically seen. There have been testimonies of people around us that have made great life changes and have stuck to them, and people that have failed. We've been surrounded by everybody. And there's a very blatant part of like, you know, my life I can look at and know what I believe is real. Because of those things. And it's that whole idea where it's like, you know, like I want to just, you know, encourage you, man. Like it's that mentality. It's like, you know, I know I'm going to heaven. It doesn't mean I want to be ripped apart by a grizzly bear to get there. So, so like, I get that. But in the same hand is that it's like, you know, nah, dude, like you have been so blessed in this past year that there is physical evidence of even sitting in this room with these, you know, things we sit on and all the things. It's because of the fact that we needed the space to do it and we needed the ability to make those things happen. And I don't know. I think that may be something that God's telling you, man, where he's just like, nah, dude, like just trust me. It's going to be like, do not worry about this thing that has already been promised to you. Like it's that whole mentality, like my favorite Bible verse that Jesus even says, where he's like, in my Father's house, there are many rooms. If it was not so, I would not have said it. You know, so like, you know, so it's like, you know,
trust me.
So, you know, I don't know, like it's, you know, but maybe like when those things happen, like, you know, meditate on that stuff, you know, and think about that, you know, and, you know, but again, we still have our own thought lives. We still have our own, you know, times where things are easier and things are harder, you know, but in the same hand, dude, I do get it. Like, I mean, that's, you know, dying is something that only people get to do once. If you look at it from like that perspective of like, well, I go to one place or another, or there's not, or whatever. Like, So like, I don't know, like I kind of have also an inverse with it, is that the main thing that people that have said that have flatlined and brought back, it was kind of like this mentality of like nothing mattered. Like it was like this idea that them being brought back was actually frustrating, because where they were, like, it was like, I don't have to worry about whether or not this bill is paid. I don't have to worry about these things. Like, yes, I am leaving my loved ones, but there's a borderline, almost like selfish nature of like, I'm just done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm not like, I don't chase that by any means, but I think that it's one of those where like, nah, dude, when my time is up, my time is up. And what I did while I was here, I know that I was the best steward that I possibly could be of with the assets of what I was given.
Yeah.
And dude, like, you have that in spades, man. Like, wow. you like genuinely, like, it's like, even if it isn't just in the past 3 years, which by the way is applicable to both of us, so like, right. we've only recently just had our lives begin. And it's very interesting. So
I think that's the biggest thing too, is that I am 40 years old, and that 40 years have passed so quickly in the grand scheme of things, that like, that's what worries me, is that, that whole time aspect, is that it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
Even when you are very present in what's going on, that it's like, okay, well, do I have 20 years left? Do I have 40 years left? Do I have 32 years left? Do I have 2 years? Like, it's just like, it's all of these things. And, like I said, that was the biggest culprit on, why I think that it drew me into having that like thought process, or taking me back to it. But I also tried to remember something where it was Denzel Washington. So like, I feel like when a lot of times things like that come up in my life, with all of the good things that have been happening in my life, it does freak me out, number one, because I feel like, okay, he's giving me all of these things to just like shut me up for a little bit, and then, but you know what I mean? Like, here, you've been good, and then, but I'm going to take it all away from you, and you're going to, whatever. But anyways, that it's the fact of when you're doing bad, the devil leaves you alone. When you're doing good is when he comes up and wants to fuck with you.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of times too, is that not only is that his kind of only way to like put a barrier between me and happiness, or, my savior or something like that, is like his only little bit of wiggle room right now.
Right.
And he gets in there good. But it's just the fact of, I've thought of that before, where I'm like, dude, because like, I'll be like, I was having such a good day, like, and it's just like, all of this, it'll be the stupidest thing that triggers it sometimes. And I'm just like, how the fuck did watching, Bob Ross, but I'll be like, Bob Ross has been dead for 25 years. What I mean? His family, dude, like, it'll be just like something like, I'm like, and then you think of those things, and then it goes down this whole line. But yeah, so anyways, just to get off that little rant, but no, that is very interesting, but it's also interesting on how I get there too. So yeah, that's okay. So just my praying and my more religious standpoint.
I would boil it down to the strong word of just of faith, man. Like, it's like, there's, it's that whole mentality of like, blessed are those that, believed without seeing. And it's like, there's something very powerful about that. Like, faith is like, with what you do with it, is that you can't physically prove it. Like, that's why it's faith.
Right.
Because that's like when people are like, oh, I want to argue science and faith. You can't. They're like, it's the tundra and it's the ocean. Like, they're not the same. Like, it's like the environment is completely different.
Right.
And so I think that, people that have faith, no matter what their faith is, those are some of the strongest people that are alive. And like, to me, I think that through what you've been through and the things that have happened, and, just the way that you have triumphed over things, the way you have fallen flat on your face and pushed off the ground and been like, no, fuck you, I'm getting up, and it's like, it's that, that mentality, like, of just like, no, I will not quit. It's like, because if you did quit, and it's like, if you just existed, then of course, then it's like, I would look at that where it's like, okay, like, well, clearly your time is wasted. You're not wasting your time, and it's like, it's such a such a refreshing thing. Like, you know, being your brother and like, you know, watching how everything has happened. It is, it's mesmerizing in a lot of ways. And there's days that you, rekindle my faith. And like when you talk about certain things, like those are sometimes that I will pray or that I will like because my mind's on it.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And it's like, so I think it's like, you could argue that it's like, oh, it's being spoken out and like you're manifesting these things. But in the same hand is that it's, you know, it's not just the fact that you said those things, it's the intent behind them. It's the weight of the goodness that comes from those. Or like when, you know, you're struggling with something and it's like, no, dude, I get it, dude, this is tough. And guess what? I'm right there with you. Let's figure it out. You know, and it's that, you know, that mentality of just, dude, like I'm proud of you for that, man. Like I really am. And cause I know that it's the hardest thing that you'll ever do. And you're doing that while you're doing one of the hardest things that it is to do to be a content creator. So it's wild, man. But
mine's like then way less than for my last one, but just because I mean I would say it's kind of silly, but so regardless of the shows, because like I was gonna say in the fact of, oh, you know, you focus it on your, you know, your channels and bring it, but that kind of goes back with that hobby thing. So that's why I didn't say that. And that's kind of like a given. So now, while this still kind of falls in that category a little bit, regardless of the show or not, the fact of you being so open-minded on music.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, like that's been really cool. Now, yes, we did show each other music quite a bit, and you always had this, like, I guess fascination is the right word that you showed when I would like, you know, show you something or whatever, but it would mostly be more in the fact of like maybe how something looked or how the video was shot, because you've said before, like rap videos are kind of like the pinnacle,
dude, they're great
of things.
Yes.
So
yes.
I took that in the fact of that you really didn't like the music. You just enjoyed the visuals. So now fast forwarding to being in the show and the fact of it is a little more apparent, whether it just be NF or not, like, dude, you have the way that you are really soaking in what I did at 11, 12 years old and did for all of my life, much like you did with your like metal and stuff like that. But you're also doing it now with me in the sense of like this deathcore and other things. Like you're really opening up to this other side of music that we both didn't have before with our other genres, I feel like. And I think that's really cool because not everybody does that. You know, you could also argue the fact of, well, of course you did, it was the show. Sure. But you could either lie.
No, I'm gonna tell you what I think. You know,
or be like, no, I do like this, and off camera, like, dude, I can't. But like, I know that it gets good views or something. Like, no, you don't. You don't do that.
No,
you are genuine when you're like, no, man, I like mumble rap. I like auto tune. I like this. I'm like, really?
Right? Yeah.
Like,
how are we brothers?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. But yes, but it's like, no shit. Yeah. So you're this kind of style with a little bit of this flavor compared to mine, where it's like, I like this little bit of flavor, but this kind of style. Like, it's very interesting, but then it all kind of comes back to the fact of the other genres that we do listen to that are newer for us, like Sleep Token, like Slaughter to Prevail. Like, sure, Slipknot, but dude, Slipknot and Slaughter to Prevail are very different in my opinion.
100%.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like you have been very open-minded on the fact of as even being an older person, usually that goes away as you get older.
Nothing was better than the 50s. Right. Yeah.
Where it's like, nope, I only like this kind of music and these bands and everything else sucks. Well, that might be true for a lot of things. But you still go, well, what other kind of little gold nuggets are out there? And you find them because you were not closed-minded about your music.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I think that is something that a lot of people should try. I hate country. I am really trying to give it its chance.
Right.
I don't know how much wiggle room it's going to get, but I didn't think I was going to like Upchurch. I didn't think I was going to like Jelly Roll. Still very different in the country scene. But what I mean is I didn't think I was going to, I'm like, fuck this. No way. And then it started.
Right.
And I was like, oh. And, with you liking your rap or saying like, this is something I'm going to blast in my car. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, didn't expect that. I usually always expected you to be like, this was a really good song. I really enjoyed it. And then maybe even off camera be like, I will never listen to that again. It was good, but I'll never no, you are like, bro, this is in my playlist, or this is something that I listen to weekly. 10 years ago, you would have just been like, yeah, cool video. Yeah, that sounded cool with the effect, but that you would have just moved on.
My mentality at that point probably would have been, this is cool. Give me back to Corey Taylor. So
you wouldn't have heard certain things on like maybe a rapper or an R&B singer pouring out their heart or saying lyrics that are hard or, a great bar or something. You weren't focused like that on it.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing, but it's just the fact of seeing you do that. Music is a big thing for us. Not only do you sing and play, but you also listen like that. So that is a lot of our life. And for you to, like I said, be just very open-minded about that now and even more so.
Wow.
It's pretty cool, man. Like you think you know a guy. So,
Well, look, man, number one, thank you. Because it's, because doing the channel, it's weird because there are times that cause you and I both have it where it's like, I do not want to react to this tonight or there's
sure.
whatever, but it's always like that moment of that. I feel that right up until we hit play.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, music is on.
Yeah.
And it's so for me, I knew that there was, a change happening in my direction of how I enjoy music, because my playlist, I would say, is probably quite I wouldn't say quite diverse to an unknown person, but diverse compared to what I would normally do. And I don't know, it actually, weirdly enough, I think film has actually helped because it's this idea of that, for instance, I'm not going to say the names just because I don't want to spoil the list that's going on with it or whatever. But same guy I talked about earlier, Mike, we're doing a top 10 list. It's going to be a lot of fun, all that stuff. So, but there is a movie from the 1960s that is on this list that I had never heard of, that is in Japanese, that, it's a foreign film. That
was it?
Yeah. So it's made okay. So I was like, oh my gosh. So cause I've watched updated horror films like The Sadness, or watching I don't want to just say extreme horror stuff, but watching, like a Serbian film or these things where are they good movies? That's up to the viewer. But it's still the idea that it's I look at them and I'm like, okay, I know that there was a crew. I know there were actors. I know that they were dedicated to this, all that. There were a couple of moments in even The Bride of Frankenstein, which was on a list I did with him a while ago, where this is, I believe it was the 1930s that it was made. And it was just dude, this is quote unquote not something that would spark somebody in my generation to watch, but dude, there's cinematography, there's practical effects, it's a scary movie, it's got this, I really learned to not be judgmental over content.
Okay.
And of that fact of okay, no, does this work in the medium of the entertainment that it's supposed to do to me? So when it comes to music, NF, clearly was kind of the Trojan horse. I think that was, what got me back into rap, because it was I was listening to 808s again. I was listening to bars. I was paying attention to lyrics, and they were hitting me. So for Big Everything to be on the TV, and for to know a couple of Busta Rhymes parts or whatever and stuff, that never would have happened years ago. And it's that stuff that I kind of like that, because no, dude, I love that song. I love Lace It. I love Bartender. I love all these songs, stuff that I had never approached before, where it's dude, I want melody. I want determination. I want boldness. I want authenticity. And it's that's not married to a genre. that's married to music.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like that. I think that that's what the channel, along with film and the many other things, like even in video games, like when indie games are made or whatever, where it's like, okay, like the graphics are completely subpar, but this game is scary. Like it's, you know, it's like when you play like Slender the 8 Pages or something where it's like, wow, like this is very rudimentary or is very 8-bit or like it feels like an older game, but it's still effective.
Exactly.
And I do like rap has just like, I wouldn't say that it's had a major resurgence for me where it's like, oh, I'm only listening to rap, but I will say that there was a time period that I only listened to NF. Like there was really nothing else that came back. Like Sleep Token was really what got me back into metal again. And it was like, seriously, because like it was the fact that like I got rap with Sleep Token, I got Genting, I got Bloodsport, which is nothing but a piano. Like it's like all these different things. So like it really genuinely did, like it made me branch out my palate where it's like, nah, dude, you've been drinking this sweet wine for long enough, man. Let's go to some reds and let's go to some dry wines and let's appreciate what's happening here.
Right.
And yeah, so like, dude, I just at the end of the day, I love music, man. And I think that the whole journey has really, you know, like the channel, I think, has done nothing but give a platform to see the metamorphosis, if you will, you know?
Yeah.
And because realistically, the only song that you and I did not like that we reacted to was the new My Chemical Romance song that came out. And I was so mad.
Same.
I love that band. I'm like, I don't like this. And why don't I should, you know? So
exactly. Because again, I did not anticipate their albums, you know, even when I was younger by any means like that, but I did like their music, you know, and I just remember when we were both done, like, no, we didn't shit on the song, but kind of off camera, not bad, but we were just like, bro. Like, because we kind of like, you know, didn't want to do it on camera like that. But at the same time, we let you know we did not enjoy it. And it was weird because people have asked before, like, just every song you guys hear are just bangers? Yeah. Yes, they are.
Because we have a great audience.
Because we have a great audience. Now, do we listen to every single song 1,000 times? Fuck no.
No.
Does it mean you still didn't enjoy it the first time or be like, okay, yeah, I can see why this is a big hit or why this was requested or won or whatever, but you like songs more than some others.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact of like, you know, we do like everything. The fact that, you know, like you said, you know, with the, you know, the channel opening up, you know, kind of like that palette, but you know, music, like you said, is something that you love and is our daily thing. But when you are closed-minded, like we both were for a long time, we still got that fulfillment. But it's weird to think about if we weren't so closed-minded on the other things. Like if I would have listened to Slipknot more when I was younger, if you would have listened to more, I don't know, D12 and, you know, 3-6 Mafia or something. But like, it's like, well, what would have happened? Now, I did go from, you know, NWA to NSYNC in my playlist, but that's still borderline very similar sounds, 808s, uppity beats.
That like quote unquote like mainstream sound. Yeah, right.
So like it kind of like, you know, flirted with that. But no, like I said, this has just it's been a cool journey. And not only that, but it still leads to us being in this room here where it's like, you know, the channel did take off. It is something that you enjoy and it opened up your, I guess, ideas and things to do for other channels like this one.
Well, I think that the other part of it, which I mean, again, like it's, you know, you don't necessarily have to have this to appreciate music, but like when it's come to the small amount, like the pinky amount that I have even tried to like produce music or understand, like, you know, how to mix and master, which is usually just me dragging Easy Mix on something, you know, so, but in the same hand is that like I find myself that I'm not really even paying attention to the genre anymore. I'm paying attention to the mix.
Sure.
And, you know, because it's like it's just like with movies where it's like you and I thankfully have the same kind of mentality where like when we watched Suicide Squad, where it was like, excuse me, this movie was incredible. There was one green screen spot where I was like, come on, dude. You know, like, like did you like, was that something that had to be like, maybe it was shot last minute or something. And like, it was, you know, like something that they had to skate by. Like even Black Panther has that with the ending CG fight. Like like when you know like why it looks the way that it does, it's like, damn, all right, I have a little more like, empathy.
Sure.
But it still looks like shit, and it's like, it doesn't change that.
You have Marvel money, fix it.
Right. So it's like kind of like even showing that it's like, even being on that caliber, sometimes things have to squeak by.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so like, even like listening to NF's song where he had, I think was it Chasing? Yeah, it was the Chasing demo where he had the young lady that did the vocals.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was just her recording. You could have thought for a second that me having the scrutinizing nature I have with art because like with quality is that I would have looked at that and went, okay, well, the mix is terrible on her voice. Like, it's like, no, the point is that it's a demo. Mm-hmm. And he loved this so much that he wanted to incorporate it. So it's like, I try to pay attention to the humanity, but I also try to pay attention to the true practicality of what it should be, because it's like, again, like films with bad pacing, like Rise of Skywalker. I will never say a good thing about that movie besides the visuals. Like that's the only credit it deserves, so it's like that's the scrutinizing, like, level that I hold to art. And it's, I don't know, like to me, like, to listen to a good mix on the channel, dude, like we've been very blessed that we have the ability to hear very good sounds and we're able to pick those things out, which that's, like that, not my next thing, but like, that's the credit to you, man, where it's like, no, like, you knew that was important. And it's like, you're like, let's, take what we have made and put it back into what we're doing. And it's just, it's, like to me, like, I think that we're in the best advantage to take in music because it's like we bounce things off each other so well. And, and it's like we know what we're looking for and we're both looking for different things, but we both have the same end goal. And it's just, it's cool.
We do.
So, but as far as the last thing to kind of wrap everything up for the night, hope. That's been something that you have not let go of, and the translation of that as far as like making content, it's that you didn't take no for an answer. From the beginning and incarnation of everything to even now, like we both have ideas for things. And I'm not saying that, I have no hope with what we're doing. That's not it at all. But like, dude, like there is such a fire in you when an idea hits and it's kind of like that, that, all right, well, hey, what if, cause like had that conversation about taking Shut Up and Eat It on the road never happened. And if it was something that you were like, like we could well, I mean, we have this, like, I mean, we have that, like, I mean, like, well, what does it look like? And I know that my mindset was not on that at all, but I knew practically that we could do it. So it's like, it's almost kind of like you have the dream and then it's kind of like, is it possible? And I feel like that's a lot of like what my filter is, which is not a bad place to be. I think that both are important, but in the same hand is that, dude, like your, like the amount of times that you were just like, dude, like your podcast has got to come back, dude. Like, it's like this, like, just like talking about like, you're like, no, like your scary stories have got to do this. Like, you're like, dude, like you would do like so great with this or whatever. Like you're very edifying in those things because I know that you're not full of shit, because it's like, like you,
sure.
You're not just like, oh yeah, you'll be great. It's like you speak with this just empowering nature of just being like, nah, dude, I know that you can do this. I know that this is there. I know this is here. And it's like, this is what we are dreaming of. This is what we want to have happen. Like your just your level of hope with what we do is incredible. Cause that like my hope has only recently come back. And I know that this, I mean, I'm just going to say it just because it's the truth. It's really, my hope has not really come back since, or has now come back since the analytics have gone up.
Oh,
because I'm a very practical person. I'm a realist, so it's one of those where like when I see what's happening, that's kind of the world that I live in. It's very difficult for me to break out of that and to think of something better because I'm just in this thing trying to make it work. Yeah. And it's that Like, dude, like you're always the one that's like, let's try this, let's do this, let's see what's gonna happen here, like whatever. And again, like I have input too, but but in the same hand is that like yours is on a different level where I'm like, dude, like I want to know why your mind works this way because I'm looking at grays on all these arrows and thinking we're fucked. Like I've had that thought mentality a lot. Now that was never the reality, but it's just like, dude, like you've always just like you've just had that like. Even just from stuff I was doing, like when I was younger, when I told you I wanted to be an actor and you were like, nah, dude, you can do it. You know, it's like do this stuff. I think at that time you were working like a really good job. You're like, I'll pay for your college or I'll do this. Or like, you know, it's those like late night conversations before you pass out when you're like running on 2 hours of sleep. Like, oh, make it all happen. You know, so like, but in the same hand, like, dude, like your attitude towards it, that like you've never been the older brother that said what you're doing is bullshit. It was always the like, yeah, nerd, you know, but what are you doing? Yeah. You know, like, so like, you know, it's so like you were the proper older brother. You gave me shit, but you also kicked me in the ass and was like, dude, no, go do this thing. And that's transpired to not only just YouTube, like you've helped out with Rodney's videos of like doing stuff like, you know, with Forest of Screams and stuff. Like it's a local place in Medina, you know, here in Ohio where like, it's not to plug him, but like he does really great haunted houses and stuff like that. So, you know, I brought you on to shoot the Krampus thing because I needed somebody that could light. Like
I was still very new at that.
Right, it's so like, but dude, it looks incredible. It looks, in my opinion, like one of the most AAA things I think I've produced. Just for like for a client, like where I'm like, wow, like that was so cool. The snow, that he provided, the strobing effects, the stuff that we did. Like, granted, like Rodney helped us out a lot because we had the backdrop, we had you know, but in the same hand is that it's like we showed up and like I didn't know how it was going to go just because I had never brought a second person. Screw the fact that it was you. I had never just brought a second person. And it was just immediately, it was just like, nope, we're doing this. Grab this over here. Kyle, move this, put this over here. How does this look? Sweet. Okay, let's shoot. Let's do it. And it was just like you have a vision when it comes to that stuff. And I know that it's always in your mind, the way that, or that like how much it is in mind, but I know that the way that we look through a lens is differently. So I think that maybe there's that balance that we have, you know, so we're like, it's like you're living in La La Land and I'm living on Earth. and there's times where it's like, no, dude, you need to come down here and fucking be real. And then there's times where you're like, no, dude, you need to fucking dream and be up here where I'm like, right. Like, it's dude, like the level of hope you have with content is just very impressive. And I think it's one of the many different factors that goes into what we've done. And I genuinely, I really do. It's wild. So yeah.
Damn, man. Like that's interesting. I guess I never would have really like looked at it that way. So, I mean, like, you know, it was always just in the fact of, I knew that you, whatever, like, you know, depending on the channels or who was running what, it could be done. It was just the fact of finding the way to do it right and then going, now how much does it cost me? Because let's be fair, like when it comes to those things, especially if, you know, being online and, you know, social media, you have to invest in yourself. Yeah. So it's like, well, what is going to make my life the easiest compared to my cost ratio? Right. You know, and then I knew that all of this could be done. We've talked about this before where it's like I've watched other motherfuckers that have way less of a subscriber count or, you know, not a studio or whatever it is, and they make it work. Yeah. There's no way I can't, or that you can't, or whatever it is, or the idiots that get in Hollywood to make TV shows and movies. You mean to tell me you can't get in there? Come on, man. Like, there's no way. Like, have you seen some of the morons that are on? Yeah, that's right. What I'm saying. Like,
yeah, we got Madam Web. Right.
It's just like that's how I looked at it, where it's like, nope, if I have the capability, if once I have the financial part of it out of the way, I have no excuse now. Yeah. I have no excuse.
The only earthly thing you have left at that point is, can I do it?
Correct.
You have everything at your fingertips.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, not to make everything material, but it's like once my finances were done, or that I know that they can be a certain thing, that was my biggest hurdle on everything. Yeah. Because I had the knowledge, which was you, and then also mine, but then also in the fact of helping me do things or telling me what to do or what to research or look for or whatever it might be. And all of these things, like, it all came together. And it's just because I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
Whether it came to lighting, cameras, rooms, content, sound, all of these things. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, so I didn't take no for an answer, but I also just didn't buy bullshit either to just get by.
No.
I wanted to make sure that it was done right, but I think that was because of how I envisioned it. And I was like, well, no, well, if I can do it this way, it only takes this much more to do it this way.
Yeah.
Like that.
Right. Seriously.
And
yeah.
that's why I looked at it with you too, where it's like, no, man, well, okay, that's great. You want to do this, but I would say things to you where like, well, what if you did this too? Or instead do this? But like, you know, everybody has their own outlook.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own vision. But no, mine was just always kind of that whole can-do attitude. You know, it's like, you know, I'm hopeful with a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to always be. I have my bad days when it's fuck this, fuck you, and fuck everything. Like, of
course.
You know, like, fuck this computer, fuck this program. I'm clicking the control button. It's not controlling. Like, it's not like.
I think that honestly just comes down to the like, dude, like I have been doing this since I was 15, and that shit just never stops. Like, because it's like, you know, it makes me wonder, you know, if you could actually sit in on somebody editing a project in Premiere for a feature film. Like what that, because have you ever seen some of their projects where it shows like the 16 video layers and then the 30 audio layers? And it's like, because of that joke of like, yeah, can you just change that song right there? But they're all like 30 different blocks. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, it's like, do you understand what it even took to make this a reality? Yeah. Like, you know, but again, like, I mean, we don't do anything to that extent, but still, like, if it's as frustrating in this, what's this like for somebody that is being paid a salary to bring entertainment to a very, very critical audience? You know, and it's one of those where like,
that doesn't like the fucking Notebook, but they're still working on the fucking Notebook.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right. It's like that whole like, no, I needed to buy a house. That's why I did this. You know? So like, you know, but in the same hand, like, no, dude, like, it's just there's a very, very practical thing that's there with it, man, is that, you know, like anybody that is wanting to be a content creator is that like, if like somebody's like, hey, I want to be a content creator, my first question is why?
Why?
Like,
and
why?
What are you going to do?
Like, it's like, do you understand like the level of frustration you're going to have, the interactions with people that aren't always going to be good, or the heavy things that people tell you that have happened in their life, or the people that you get connected to that you never thought that you would, or like the friends that you've made now, and now these are relationships that are, you know, present in your life that you now keep up with. And like, just it's like being a content creator is such a very different thing that I think that when you are truly like deep in it, like we are now, like it's like it becomes a lifestyle that you would have looked at prior and went, how like how does this work? And it's like, it just happened to work, man. Like it's very interesting just how the cards fell, how everything has happened. And, you know, just like it's mesmerizing in a lot of different ways, man. But nevertheless, guys, we are definitely over our normal time limit, but at least I figured we can finish our like an hour and a half is usually where I try to keep it. So about 7 minutes, you know, prior, like we're good there. So, but either way, guys, if you've enjoyed this, please let us know. Comment below. Obviously, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't done that already. And yeah, we're really trying to hone in on just having more conversations. You know, like we'll do some more topic based stuff here pretty soon, but we're trying to hone into just, you know, being able to turn on the mic and just, you know, be like, let's just chat for a little while. And tonight felt good. This was a lot of fun, man.
No, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So, but either way, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring this to a close. And as always, Eric, is there anything that you would like to say to the audience before we officially sign off until next week?
I don't know if I've said this before, but to impress a chick, do the helicopter dick.
And with that, we will see you guys next week. Adios.